I'm stuck at work for 144 hours in a row and no one is coming. My new job makes you work 12-hour shifts because patient care. I'm working my Friday shift thinking I'll go home as normal after my shift is done. The schedule gets posted and they have me working 2 12-hour shifts a day from Saturday to Thursday. Apparently one worker got suspended and the other quit. I'm like, no way in hell will I do this. I'm a part-time worker and have shit to do. Due to this schedule, I can't leave the house because there's no breaks. I was already here before the schedule got posted. I call, leave voicemails and message my bosses and no one responds. I even messaged them on the chat they sent the schedule, everyone's quiet. I want to walk out but that's illegal because patient endangerment. What the F do I do? Notify the labor board and call the police non-emergency number to discuss coverage options so that doesn't come back to bite you later? At least that's my suggestion. That's what I fear. You can't leave because that's patient endangerment, but if you stay that long without sleep, something bad could happen to someone in your care. It's a catch-22, and you need to get the attention of either the press or the police, and like others said, the families. Making health and care decision privately operated is such a mistake. If your company has higher-ups or headquarters, call them. While you're waiting for them to answer, call social services, adult protection services, or the emergency line, ambulance or police. Tell them the situation, and tell them that you're willing to wait a little while, but you have to leave. Sure, you have a duty of care, but 144 hours on duty alone with no breaks is insane. Your bosses are terrible, but their problems are not your problem. I was told that having plans 20 minutes after my work hours was unethical. See much title. Last week my direct manager decided to schedule a meeting at 4:15 p.m. on Friday, which already in itself seems bitchy AF, but then when the meeting ended up taking over 45 minutes, I told her I am sorry, but I do have plans right after this so I have to go. She decided to go on a rant about how we should always leave the hour after work free in case we are needed and how even though our work hours are 9 to 5, it is really more like 8 to 6 in case we need to do extra stuff. I honestly could not help but laugh. I muted myself since we were on Zoom, and then I told her that unfortunately, I had to go, since my schedule does say I end at 5 and I am entitled to do whatever I want with my free time. We are supposed to continue the meeting tomorrow on Monday morning, and I am low-key hoping my director, her boss, hops on just to see if she will bring this up, because my director is actually really chill about this whole thing. As long as we get our work done, he does not care what hours you work or what time. Just wanted to share this little story here since it seems fitting. Lamau. Edit 1. Wow. Okay, so I did not expect the story to blow up the way it did, lol. Thanks to everyone who commented and thanks for the silver. So a couple of you were asking me to update on this since I did mention I had the meeting this morning with her. So I just got off that meeting, and both her and my director showed up. My director was not aware of this situation. He joined because he wanted input on a project we are working on. So I could tell that she was not planning on bringing it up to avoid problems with him, so I said fuck it, and when the meeting was almost over I said, by the way, I would like some clarification on something. I was informed on Friday that my hours should be 8 to 6 rather than 9 to 5. I just want to make sure that this was stipulated in writing and that I will be properly compensated for it. When I tell you my director was shook lol. He had no idea where I was coming from and all my manager could say was we can set up a meeting to discuss this later. So at least my director is aware of the situation. Now we just wait. Edit 2. So since a lot of people are invested in this story, I guess I will see it through to the end. Lamau. My manager just sent me a message asking if we can have a phone call in about an hour. She didn't say much but she did make sure to tell me I wish you would have brought this up with me before bringing it before him, because I was not prepared. Which I found hilarious since she was the one that randomly brought it up last week. Let's see if I still have a job in a couple of hours. Lamau. Lol, in my old job I got told you should never make plans after work.
I got disqualified for a job because I didn't spell my name backwards. I'm not joking. I was very qualified for this job and nailed every one of their meticulous tests and was perfect in my interviews. But, in their job posting they asked for someone who was meticulous in all their details and asked them to spell their name backwards in their application. Which I didn't do, because I'm not spelling my name backwards. It literally spells a sexual act when it's spelled backwards, and I was relentlessly bullied in school for that for a long time, so I'm not butchering my name like that. It may seem silly to others, but honestly, this shouldn't be a qualification for a job. Anyway, in my rejection letter that was the reason why. I missed that key detail. All I could think was they clearly didn't take 5 seconds to spell my name backwards. I can't believe this is what the job world has come to. Should have gone full literal. Eamon Re8. Update. My name is Lana and I didn't want to change my name to Anal on my resume or explain to the hiring managers why I don't feel comfortable having my name as Anal on my resume and that resume being in their records. So, like a normal person who has dignity like everyone else, I kept my original name for a job application.
Update number 2. Okay, I'm going to clarify this story since some people are confused.
I followed all their do this if you read this job posting in full kinda requirements except for spelling my name backwards. They still reached out to me to schedule an interview, so that is where I figured, hey, it clearly read my resume and see I'm qualified, and also saw my first name and it clicked why I didn't spell my name backwards, so I was the exception. I had 3 interviews for this job, even one in person where they all called me by my first name correctly, so there was no confusion on my real name. After my last interview, they emailed me the following day saying due to not completing all requirements of the initial application, they decided to go with a different candidate. They were clearly interested in me enough for 3 interviews and either didn't notice I spelled my name the correct way at first, which is the irony of this because they wanted someone who was meticulous with details and couldn't achieve that themselves. Or they just typed their email because they knew all along I didn't spell my name incorrectly, and that clearly wasn't the ultimate deciding factor if I got 3 interviews and decided to use this bullshit reason instead of being honest with me, which again is ironic. Because they are saying you didn't qualify for this job because you didn't change your name to Anal on your resume. Missing some key details here, especially if they don't want any legal trouble. Should have gone full literal. Eamon Re8. The irony is you did pay attention to that detail. Lol.
You cost the company $4,000, but how much have I made it? Apparently, I fucked up. Work at a print shop and I set up a job wrong. The client didn't notice my mistake and neither did the press men who actually ran it. The manager shows me the mistake and tells me it'll cost a lot of money to rerun the job. I'm too tired to care right now, so I just asked, what do you want me to about it? Doesn't give me an answer. Few minutes later he comes back with paperwork so he can point at the price we put on the job and repeat how much I cost the company. I'm sure I've cost them so much considering the extra responsibilities I've had to take on and how much we're underpaid. Also, I talked to the accountant a lot and the company is doing just fine. I'm not going to be shamed because I fucked up one job and no one else along the way spotted it. Where I work, some made a blunder so bad it literally impacted the stock price. Everyone knew about it and were talking about it. It made the news and everything. Do you know what they did to the person that wrote the code that caused the issue? They provided support. They provided support because they failed to put in the processes and safeguards that would have protected them from being able to make this error. They did not want them freaking out over this and taking all the blame when it was a team failure. This is how this kind of situation should be handled. I've stopped checking others' work as thorough as usual. I've been carrying many staff in other teams for years. Finally, no. I'm not doing it anymore. I actually mentioned to someone today in my team that apparently to most other teams QA must mean quick attempt rather than quality assurance. If the client approved, doesn't that absolve you from that mistake? I mean, you're printing an approved copy. It should. They literally signed off on it. So why is your manager doing extra paperwork to prove you cost the company $4,000 worth of damages? That's just reading as a toxic work environment. My husband has been a commercial printer his entire career, almost 40 years. Sucky way to make a living. The markup on that stuff is incredible, management gets paid insane amounts and the folks doing the actual work, nada. 12-hour shifts, mandatory overtime, questionable working conditions, and broken down machinery. And now because they don't pay true living wages, the turnover in staff is crazy. But yeah, they will blame the ones they depend on to actually run the place when things go wrong. To do it all again, he would have got out of printing long ago. I had an American boss and I feel so sorry for all my cousins across the pond. I used to work for a small law firm where all the employees and managers were all immigrants from English-speaking countries and the boss was from the US. She hired a new office manager on the basis of his MBA from some random university stateside that I had never heard of. As soon as he arrived, he created such a toxic environment, demanding that people work overtime even though the pay wasn't competitive, etc. Apparently, I went to the toilet too often even though my tasks were all done on time. He told me that since we didn't have enough staff, I would need to take my lunch break at my desk in case someone calls. Legally, they're allowed to only give you 30 minutes for lunch here, but it boils down to what as a skilled worker you're going to accept. I got invited to a termination interview, which I think was solely intended to scare me into being compliant and accepting their conditions. Ultimately, I quit on the spot when they gave me the summons to the termination meeting because the work environment was giving me anxiety, and with my skill set I could quite easily find a better job with better pay elsewhere. The office manager who fired me was suddenly scared that he didn't have enough staff and told me that I legally had to work my 7-day notice, but luckily for me my doctor was quite happy to give me a sick note smile. The boss was seriously passive-aggressive. At one stage she started blanking me, issuing me tasks in the third person by xing me on emails. She also incessantly made racist comments, for example everything that wasn't as white/European/North American as us was ghetto in her words. While I was working there, the other employee doing the same job as me was seriously unsatisfied with the job too and had mentioned to others in the work-sharing place that he was looking to leave too. I don't know if he ever did, but if he did the boss would be in dire straits as she's far too obsessed curating her media presence, interviews, podcasts, social media etc., and doesn't actually know how her company works. I have a job alert on LinkedIn for the company and I love seeing that after almost a year, my position is still vacant. Working there, I had become friends with the secretary of the work-sharing office we worked in. The secretary told me that people in my job constantly left after short periods of time because the boss was completely bonkers and the environment was too toxic. Now, when I interview for jobs, I am extremely cautious about accepting a job where the manager is from North America. They seem to have this weird idea that they're doing me an enormous favor by hiring me, even though my skill set is quite in demand. Apparently, I went to the toilet too often. I enjoy nothing more than going to the toilet on work time. I used to feel bad and try to rush, but I got over that and just take as long as I need. Most companies, especially factories, allow for toilet breaks in their planning. Hey, I love you. Thanks for watching. I hoped you enjoyed this Reddit audio story. It would mean a lot to me if you could like and subscribe, or better yet, leave a comment about one of the stories. Thanks, and I hope you have a wonderfully fantastic day. XOXO.